Yo, what's up YouTube? I'm Blitz5 and it's that time again. There's a new champion in League of Legends and his name is Ekko, the boy who shattered time. So I figured I did this last time with Bard, I would do it again with Ekko. I would go through the champion. They just released the information on him today publicly on May 12th, 2015. So I'm just going to go through, give my opinion on it, give some commentary, and we can go through this together, maybe see how his playstyle is going to be, and then I don't know how to build him, where he fits in, my thoughts, etc., etc., etc. So let's check him out. So Ekko is going to be the 125th champion in League of Legends. Right now we have 124, and then Ekko will be put into the PvE, might have some slight changes, and then he'll be released to the public. So it'll probably happen in the next couple weeks or so. Usually after they announce, there is some lag. It's like not following the next patch. It's usually one or two after that, and then we'll see how he actually is in the game. So I'm just going to scroll through here. I'm recording live. We'll take a look at his abilities. I'll make sure my sound's off so this doesn't come through, and you guys can watch on your own time if you need to. But just the first, looking at this character, he looks pretty cool. He's got a mohawk, white mohawk that's pretty sweet, and I like his, almost looks kind of like Tron with the color system with that like light blue, which looks pretty sweet, and almost to me reminds of like an Ezreal, but then like kind of standing like a Wukong stance with that like stick with the staff. So it's pretty sweet. A little bit of punk style like Jinx. So I really like this character. I think having him as an assassin works with the champions that have been released recently. That we haven't had an assassin, and he from what I've been reading seems to be more of a utility assassin, which I think is cool. I actually prefer a lot of the utility type characters. If you watch me play, those are the characters I tend to pick. I like Ziggs mid, who's like wave clear. Ashe, they consider Ashe to be a utility marksman because of her ult and the stun, stuff like that. So I like those kind of characters because my mechanics aren't that great in League of Legends. I've only been playing for like a year and a half. So I try to use my wit and strategy to outplay people. So I think this character will be interesting and might fit my play style. So first we have the passive, which is Drive Resonance. So I'll play while I'm reading. So Ekko's damaging spells and attacks build up Reckoning stance on his enemies. So that means that his spells and auto attacks, right? So every third attack against the same target triggers Ekko's passive, dealing bonus damage and slowing his enemy. If he triggers his passive on an enemy champion, Ekko also gains a strong movement speed buff. So let's play this video again. So this is just like a lot of characters have this in League of Legends now. When you're attacking, something will proc. That's on, like, I think it's on like Taric, Braum, and a couple other champions that have come out recently when you keep auto attacking. But this speed boost is definitely interesting because you can use it to get ahead if they dash, or you can use it to run away after you poke, which I really like. So you can use it both ways, which is cool. Then we have Time Winder, which Ekko throws a device in a target direction, damaging all enemies along its path. Once it reaches max distance or hits an enemy champion, the device expands, creating a field that slows all enemies and neutral units. After a moment, the device contracts and rushes back to Ekko, dealing extra damage to his enemies in his path. So this is kind of like the Sivir Q, but a little bit different because of the way it expands, so a little bit more play. Kind of almost like a Gnar Q, or whatever his ability is that does that, with the throws like that boomerang, kind of similar to that. And definitely looks like this is going to be strong. His main poke, a normal Q for a champion, and probably going to be huge in lane for Ekko. So next we have the W, which is Parallel Convergence. This has a passive and an active, so I'll start this up and read through the ability. So the passive is Ekko's basic attacks deal bonus damage to all targets, so that's pretty sweet, kind of fitting in with his assassin playstyle. Then the active is Ekko opens a time rift, creating an alternate reality copy of himself that tosses the device to a target location. After delay, the device expands into a broad slowing zone. If Ekko enters the sphere, it detonates, granting him a shield while stunning all enemies inside. So from the video and what I read on Reddit and League of Legends forum, it looks like this ability is kind of going to be like, it almost reminds me of the Bard ability because of the delay, but it's going to be used in two different ways. So you can put it on yourself and get the shield if you just need that. So say you think Lux is going to ult you in lane, you could throw the shield on yourself, and then if the ult hits you, you have a little bit more of a shield if you can't dodge it, right? So that helps. Or you could throw it on the enemy and try to stun them. I'll play the video one more time, but the delay is going to be pretty hard. Or if you're trading with somebody and they're right on top of you, you can throw it on top of you, and then it will stun them and shield you at the same time. they don't get out of the way. So this has 3 different ways you can use it, and I think that's pretty sweet. And then obviously you can zone out an enemy, you can throw it in front of them so they want to move backwards towards you, etc. So this gives him a lot of play, and this is part of the utility they're giving him by giving him this W and having the stun option, because a lot of assassins like Zed or Kha'Zix don't have any hard CC like this. So this is interesting for an assassin to have that. So let's go to his E. This is called Phase Dive. So Ekko dashes a fixed distance toward a target area. Once his initial dash has ended, Ekko gains greatly increased range on his next basic attack and blinks to his target to deal damage and apply on-hit and spill effects. So this is pretty interesting. This is like a short dash, almost like a Graves or Lucian dash, but then it gives him the ability to hop, almost kind of like a ribbon ability, but they have to be within hitting distance. So that's pretty sweet. This definitely has a lot of play around minions, and I'm sure you could hop over a small wall like you can with like Gragas or Graves and then auto attack to somebody. So this is a really interesting move. I like that a lot. And then I'm sure you could use this to dash back and then attack a minion, so you could use it to get out of a fight as well, which is great. Having a mobile assassin is key, especially in today's meta and in the 2015 world of League of Legends, right? Sometimes I wonder why, if a champion doesn't have a dash and as an assassin, if you should even be playing them. And lastly, we have Ekko's ultimate, which is Chrono Break. Almost a tongue twister there. Kind of hard to say. So it's a Chrono Break, and that involves him kind of going back in time. So this is a pretty interesting ultimate. Something that definitely is new, we haven't seen before, and it looks like League of Legends is kind of going in this direction with new ultimates and kind of new unique character kits, kind of like Bard. So you know, they're trying to make each character have its own little thing, and I think they definitely want to stray away from all the old abilities that they've kind of rehashed, and I think it's kind of interesting and refreshing. So good job for them coming up with new ideas when they're 124 characters into the game. So let's give this a watch and read this one out loud. So this is Ekko rewinds time, briefly turning untargetable and invulnerable before reappearing wherever he was a few seconds ago. So once he reappears, Ekko recovers a portion of the health he lost over those few seconds while dealing tons of damage to all nearby enemies. So you can see Freak is probably in here. He always writes tons of damage, so it always makes me LOL. So at first I was confused by this statement, briefly turning untargetable and invulnerable. So I thought that was like saying the whole time he was untargetable and invincible. So I was like, that's kind of overpowered. But then I realized that what it is just for this second or two here when he's like charging it up, he's untargetable, which makes sense. And then it places it there, and then I don't think they said here whether you can reactivate it or not, but I'm assuming you could reactivate it and then it would go to that spot, or it goes back as far as you are within the past wherever this time distance is, like 2 seconds. So it's pretty interesting. You can kind of time it to where you want it to explode. So hopefully you would hope that your shadow is in the enemy team. So say if you're getting chased and you're running away, then you can ult back to them and then does damage, then you can attack. But obviously if you were to die here too quickly, then you wouldn't get this ult off. Or if the team runs in the other direction and you're kind of running away, then your ult kind of becomes useless. So it's going to take a lot of time and coordination with your team to make sure that you're in the right position, and you have to wait for the right time to do this. So it's definitely going to be a little bit complicated, but that's good for this ult. It definitely seems like it's going to be really strong for those who are good at it, like a high skill cap, as they say. And then for people who are bad at it, it's going to be kind of like a Bard ultimate where it could just kind of do nothing and not really help your team. So when I was reading this, I went on Reddit just to see people's opinions, and they were talking about how and someone from Riot Games confirmed this, where you could ult back to base buy and then ult back to your location. So then people were kind of theorizing that you could ult teleport, like get off an ability and then ult back to your original location. So this is pretty sweet. Almost like a reverse Shen ult. You could kind of go help you out your team, then go back to your base, which I think is, or back to your tower, which I think is pretty sweet. So this is all the moves for Ekko. I think he's a pretty interesting character. Once you guys take a look at this for yourself, you could go through and read what they have to say, some laning, some skirmishing, and the synergizing. So they say that these are 3 examples of champions he works well with, 3 champions that he would struggle against, which totally makes sense to me, LeBlanc, because of the way that he trades and not being a full assassin. So I guess we'll wait to see. I was going to say we could talk about his ability and what we're going to build on him, but they don't have any ratios out yet, and so we can't really tell what items he's going to be. I'm assuming he's going to be AP, so you can just assume the normal items you would build on a mage or assassin, like LeBlanc mid, right? So that's what we can assume for now. This guy's definitely cool. It'll be interesting to see what his first skin is. Usually, you know, when they come out the champion, they have that secondary skin for the bundle. Definitely like his design so far, and I like what League of Legends is doing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Blitz5, I'm out.